This conference will now be recorded.
So today we'll start the topic optic neuritis. So what is neuritis? What is itis? Itis means inflammation. So inflammation of the optic nerve, in a brief, it is called as optic neuritis. So inflammation of optic nerve is optic neuritis. Usually this is associated with multiple sclerosis. Always remember, usually it is associated with systemic disease, multiple sclerosis. About 50% of people with optic neuritis will have multiple sclerosis. So, for example, if a patient comes to you with optic neuritis, now you have diagnosed that the patient is having optic neuritis, seeing the clinical picture, first you should ask about multiple sclerosis. In our ophthalmology OPD, what happens? Initially, patient comes with optic neuritis. Then we send the patient having a doubt of multiple sclerosis. After diagnosing optic neuritis, we will diagnose multiple sclerosis. Okay. So in about 20% of people, the presenting features will be same. So what is the epidemiology? 1 in 1 lakh. Female preponderance is very high in optic neuritis when compared to males. Usually young age people, 20 to 40 years of age, will be more prone. So what happens in optic neuritis? You can see this diagram and say everything. There will be damage to the myelin sheath. Okay, you can see, just 1 second. So you can see, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the second one is demyelinating disorders. The most common one is multiple sclerosis. Then comes the Devick's disease, Schilder's disease, and acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. Plus the most common thing is multiple sclerosis, and this is a viva question for you. Optic neuritis is usually associated with multiple sclerosis. Okay, so idiopathic demyelinating disorders. Para-infectious optic neuritis means associated with some other diseases in the surrounding structures like measles, mumps, chickenpox, or sometimes even following immunization you can see optic neuritis, but it is very rare. Very few cases were reported with optic neuritis following immunization. Next one is infectious. Sinus related, most common is earthmod because it is very close to the orbit. Cat scratch fever, syphilis, Lyme disease, and meningitis. Most common is cryptococcal meningitis. So first one is idiopathic, second one is demyelinating diseases, third one is para-infectious, fourth one is infectious. So there are two types of optic neuritis. The first one is typical and the second one is infectious, sorry, non-typical. Coming to typical, you always associated with multiple sclerosis, and demyelination of the optic nerve. You can see there is demyelination of the optic nerve in typical types. In atypical types, that is, which is not as typical as the normal optic neuritis, in that you can see genetic, most common is Leber's hereditary, and infectious. I told you Lyme disease, syphilis, mumps, chicken pox, rabies, sorry, herpes, all these things will come under infectious. Autoimmune diseases also sometimes cause atypical optic neuritis. The most common thing is Sjogren's syndrome. Next comes the lupus erythematosus, rheumatoid arthritis, sarcoidosis, inflammatory bowel disease, and neuromyelitis optica. The most common thing is, you can say at least one thing, that is Sjogren's syndrome. Okay, next one, compressive because of some tumors or tuberculomas, secondaries, whatever it is, compression. Third one is nutritional. Most important thing, nutritional one is vitamin B12 deficiency causes optic neuritis if the patient is having chronic B12 deficiency. So vitamin B12 deficiency causes optic neuritis. Next one is toxic optic neuritis, which is because of methanol, ethanol, ethambutol, isoniazid, streptomycin, penicillin, aminosalicylate acid, all these things will cause optic neuritis. So coming to genetic, most common is Leber's. Infectious, you can say whatever you get into your mind, chicken pox, herpes, Lyme disease, whatever it is, tuberculosis. Autoimmune, Sjogren's syndrome, and you can say inflammatory bowel disease also, which is very common these days. Compressive, the name itself says something is compressing, like tumors, secondaries, whatever it is. Nutritional vitamin B12. This is very important and it's a vital question for you. Nutritional vitamin B12 deficiency. Toxic and drug induced methanol, ethanol. Okay, these two things you can remember, ethambutol and isoniazid. Okay, these are drug induced. These are all the causes for atypical optic neuritis. So this is one type of classification, and second one is there are three clinical types of optic neuritis. It presents in three ways. First one is papillitis, second one is neuroretinitis, third one is retrobulbar neuritis. So what are the various things happens in this? First, coming to papillitis. You know, in the retina you see optic disc like this. So if optic disc is involved, only optic disc is involved, then it is papillitis. Optic disc followed by surrounding area of the retina, that is the macula, all those things are involved, then it is neuroretinitis. That is along with the nerve, retina also gets involved. Neuro, optic nerve, retina, retinitis. Okay. So if both optic nerve and retina gets involved, then it is neuroretinitis. And the third one is retrobulbar neuritis. The name itself indicates retrobulbar, behind the eyeball, right? If this is the eyeball, this is cornea, all this behind the eyeball, here optic nerve. If this part of the optic nerve is involved, then it is retro, that is backside of the eyeball, retrobulbar neuritis. You can't see anything within the eye. Within the eye, completely it will be normal. Behind the eyeball, the nerve gets involved. Then it is called as retrobulbar neuritis. So papillitis, only optic disc, neuroretinitis, both optic disc, and along with that retina also gets involved. Retrobulbar neuritis, nerve which is present behind the eyeball gets involved. Okay, so these are three clinical types in optic neuritis. So what happens? So I'll tell you a little bit. Retrobulbar neuritis, as I told, behind the eyeball. So what happens? Optic disc appears normal. See, it is completely normal here, right? But what happens? The patient sees nothing and the doctor sees nothing. Because the posterior behind the eyeball, the optic nerve is involved, optic nerve damage is there, the patient can't see anything. When we see the fundus, when doctors see the retina appears completely normal and doctors can't see anything abnormal. So there is a very important dictum for this is the patient sees nothing and the doctor also sees nothing which is abnormal. Completely normal it will be, but the patient will not have any vision. So this is very important thing with retrobulbar neuritis. So one of the examiner asked, like, what is the condition where the patient sees nothing and the doctor also sees nothing? Then you should say that it is retrobulbar neuritis. So this is more common in adults. Just one second. Just 1 minute. I'll back in 1 minute. Sorry for the inconvenience. I'll be back in 1 minute. So this is about retrobulbar neuritis. So this is most commonly associated with multiple sclerosis. So retrobulbar neuritis is mostly associated with multiple sclerosis. Okay. So second one is papillitis. So what happens? I told you that optic nerve head, that is the optic disc, gets affected. Right? Optic disc gets affected. So you can see, you can see how the disc is. How the disc is? It is edematous. Edema will be present. Okay. So papillae means here, in the sense papillae means optic disc. Itis means inflammation. So inflammation of the optic nerve head or optic disc is papillitis. So this classification, sorry, I forgot to tell you, this classification is called as ophthalmoscopical classification. They will ask you in Viva, tell me the ophthalmoscopical classification of optic neuritis. Then you have to say this, also called as clinical types of optic neuritis. So what happens in this? You can see the disc is hyperemic, it is edematous. The margins are not that clear when compared to this picture. You can see this picture and compare this picture. You can see that the margins are not that clear. You can see that cup disc ratio is obliterated. There is no cup I've seen here, and there is hyperemic. That is, it is more pinkish in color. You can see there is hyperemia, edema. You can sometimes see, I showed you morning also, you can sometimes see some small blood vessels, hemorrhages within on the optic disc like this. Small hemorrhages will be there. So typically there will be flame shaped hemorrhages. Flame shaped means which are present in the nerve fiber layer of the retina. You know the 10 layers of the retina, right? So in the nerve fiber layer, if the blood clot is there, then they appear as flame shaped following the contour of the nerve fiber. So there will be flame shaped hemorrhages. This is most common type in children. So most common type in adults is retrobulbar, and most common type in children is papillitis. Now coming to neuroretinitis. In this, along with the optic disc, macula also gets involved. Right? That is the surrounding retina also. That is most commonly macula also gets involved. So why macula gets involved? Because the inflammation spreads along with the optic disc into the nerve fiber layer of the retina. So along with optic disc, inflammation spreads into the nerve fiber layer. Morning I told you that optic nerve will continue as nerve fiber layer, right? So they extends into the nerve fiber layer also. So what happens? You can see in the macula here, something is there, right? Something, I'll draw the diagram here. This is the macula. Surrounding the macula, it will be like this, whitish. So this is called as macular star. Here you can see white dots spreading like this, like lines like this. This is called as macular star. Okay, this is nothing but, this macular star is nothing but, exudates, right? Cotton wool spots, all these exudates will be there. These exudates will organize in this way like a star. So this is called as macular star. Okay, this is the least common type. Okay, most commonly due to viral infections. Okay, so three types: retrobulbar neuritis, papillitis, and neuroretinitis. Retrobulbar neuritis behind the eyeball, more common with adults, when the patient can't see anything and doctor also can't see anything. Coming to papillitis, only optic disc gets involved in this. This will be hyperemic, edematous, margins will be blurred, flame-shaped hemorrhages will be there, more common with children. Neuroretinitis, along with the disc, macula also gets affected. You can see macular star in this. This is the least common type we see. What happens actually in optic neuritis? So perivascular infiltrate of inflammatory cells followed by damage to the myelin and destruction of the myelin sheath, removal of disintegrated myelin by phagocytes, proliferative gliosis will be there. This is very important. There will be proliferative gliosis. Okay. So what happens? How the patient comes to you? What the patient comes and says to you that this thing happened? What history the patient gives? There will be usually a history of viral fever or viral illness. Usually the patient will have a history of viral illness. Okay. So the patient will have orbital pain, pain with eye movement prior to visual changes. When the patient moves the eyeball, the patient will have mild pain with the eye movement. Okay. So sometimes associated with foreign body sensation. So viral history will be there and mild pain along with the movement of the eyeballs will be there. This pain with movement of the eyeballs is more common with retrobulbar neuritis. Okay, this is more common with retrobulbar. We see with other two types like papillitis and neuroretinitis also, but it is more common with retrobulbar neuritis. So what are the symptoms? There will be profound unilateral vision loss. Remember, there will be sudden, painful, or sometimes painless unilateral loss of vision will be there. So the pain aggravates with ocular movements, usually, especially upwards and downwards. Why? Why upwards and downwards? Because you can see that superior rectus has an attachment to the dura. So when the patient moves in upward and downward direction, superior rectus muscle comes into action and the pain will be more in upward and downward direction as it is superior rectus is attached to dura. Okay, so visual obscuration in bright light, dark adaptation will be impaired and reduced vividness of saturated colors. Okay, so there are something called as phosphins. Okay, what are these phosphins? So these phosphins, you stare at a object for a long time, like 10 to 20 seconds, you stare at the object and you close the, after that 20 seconds, you close your eye. The image of that particular shape of that particular object you can see as a black margin in your eyeball. If you see at a clock for 20 seconds and close the outward margin of that clock, you can see in the eyeball, right, as a dark spot. Though that happens because of these phosphines only. Okay, that happens because of this phosphines only. And sometimes you can see if you are more stressed out and you didn't sleep for few days, or you're stressed out exams, or there's something like that, in front of your eyeball you'll see small black dots like that moving in your eye. When you turn the eye to rightwards, these also will move towards the right. All these things because of phosphines. Okay, what are the other symptoms the patient will have? Uthoff phenomenon. These two are very important. They will ask you in Viva for sure. What is Uthoff phenomenon? There will be transient obscuration of vision on exertion or exposure to heat. When the patient gets exposed to heat, bright light, or if there is a sudden exaggeration or some excitement is there, the patient will have transient obscuration. That is, the patient can't see anything for few seconds. Okay, so there will be transient obscuration of vision on exertion or exposure to heat. Next one is Pulfrix phenomenon. There are two phenomena in optic neuritis. Pulfrix phenomena, there will be altered depth perception. The patient will not have proper depth perception. Depth perception is called as in ophthalmology as stereopsis. There will be impairment of this stereopsis also. So the two phenomena is Utov phenomena and Pulfrix phenomena. Okay. So what are the signs you see in patient? There will be decreased visual acuity, decreased color vision, RAPD. I told you whatever optic neuropathy, there will be RAPD. RAPD means relative afferent pupillary defect. Okay. I told you morning if you throw a torch in the eyeball, instead of constricting, the pupil gets dilated, right? So there will be RAPD. So what are the signs? Color vision with normal vision and RAPD. Okay, there will be disc edema. Disc edema, especially in papillitis, there will be disc edema. Okay, so what are other things you see? Disc edema, you can see retinal vessels sheathing will be present, sheathing of the retinal vessels. Okay, and pars planatis, which is very rare, there will be pars plana. You know what is pars plana? So there will be inflammation of the pars plana, which is called as pars planatis. Usually we see that very rarely, but disc edema and retinal vascular sheathing is very common with this optic neuritis. Other thing, I told you visual fields is very important. In visual fields, the first thing we see is scotomas, followed by there can be scotoma, and followed by there will be central and centrocecal scotomas. Slowly, if we don't treat the patient ends up with blindness. Next one is VEP. What is visually VEP? Visual evoke potential. These are types of tests we have to know the functioning of optic nerve. Functioning of optic nerve we do with VEP, ERG. Okay, VEP is very important. ERG is like old technique. Nowadays we are not using that. But VEP, whatever important thing you want to know about optic nerve, go for VEP. Okay, visual evoke potential. Okay, so that will be the amplitude. There will be spikes like this. Spikes will be there like ECG. These spikes, okay, there will be reduction, reduced amplitude, and the delayed transmission. That is whatever the patient says, the object transmission of that image to the brain will be delayed. Okay, so there will be delayed transmission and reduced amplitude in VEP. So I told you already, typical optic neuritis more in females, this age group, and usually unilateral and usually painful. Retrobulbar pain worse with eye movements. I told you that retrobulbar neuritis is more common with eye movement, pain in eye movements. Peak visual loss occurs within 2 weeks, after which improvement occurs, but some people will not improve. Color vision, contrast sensitivity is lost. Any type of visual field can be seen, especially it will start with a scotoma, followed by it can go into any type of visual field. I already told you decreased amplitude and this transmission delay will be there in VEP. Okay, so other thing is atypical neuritis, painless visual loss. The vision pain will not be that much. Extremes of age, it can be very extremes means either this way or that way. It is usually bilateral. Atypical can be usually bilateral, but typical optic neuritis is always unilateral. Disc hemorrhages can be there, cotton wool spots can be there. Progression of visual loss beyond 2 weeks can be seen, fails to improve with treatment. So atypical neuritis usually don't improve with the treatment, but typical neuritis, most of the times it improves with the treatment if the treatment is given before time. Okay, so this is all already I told you. So what are the investigations? So you have to go for complete blood picture, chest X-ray, ANA, DSNA, VDRL, serology, PCR, cerebral spinal fluid tap. So there are few features which would say that whether it is multiple sclerosis, that is usually typical optic neuritis. Okay, so we have to go for MRI scan. So in MRA, if you see these three features, then you can say the patient is multiple sclerosis is present, and it is a typical type of optic neuritis. Okay, so what happens? Lesions abutting the lateral ventricles, lesions with a diameter more than 5 mm, lesions present in the posterior fossa. These three should be there to diagnose a patient is having multiple sclerosis. Okay, so now you have diagnosed the patient is having optic neuritis. Now you have to go for treatment. There is a very important, very important trial called as optic neuritis treatment trial, which is very important and it is a milestone in treatment of optic neuritis. Okay, so what objectives? They want to give steroids. They tried corticosteroids in patients with optic neuritis, and they want to know the efficacy of optic neuritis. Okay, and they want to know the relationship between optic neuritis and multiple sclerosis. So they have done these two things in optic neuritis treatment trial. This is called as ONTT. So corticosteroids usage and efficacy, and compare what is the relationship between optic neuritis and multiple sclerosis, that is typical type of optic neuritis. Okay, so what they have done, they have taken only patients because they are having, I told you that typical optic neuritis age between 18 to 46. They have taken unilateral cases, a patient with RAPD, all the features of optic neuritis they have taken, and patients who have not used corticosteroids previously, they have included only these patients in treatment, sorry, in the study. So what I have given, they have given all these methods, and finally what they have done, they have given the typical treatment method, this thing for optic neuritis. So what they want to do, initially they will give intravenous methylprednisolone for 3 days. Okay, so they will give intravenous methylprednisolone for 3 days. How much they will give? 1 milligram per kg intravitreal methylprednisolone 3 days for 1 milligram per kg body weight. They will give for 3 days, followed by following this, what they have given, they have given oral methylprednisolone for 11 days. This is also 1 milligram per kg body weight they have given for 11 days. After 11 days, they started tapering the dose of steroids. After 11 days. So first 3 days treatment is intravenous. Followed by 11 days, it should be oral. So first 3 followed by 11 days. First one is intravenous, second one is oral. Okay. So in this way, they finalized the treatment for optic neuritis. So what happened? There is a usually improve with this treatment if they are given in as early as possible. So another trials have come, that is CHAMPS and Champions, ETOMS, Benefit and Precise. These are other treatments which are recently done research methodologies. So coming to CHAMPS study, so they want to know not corticosteroids, they want to know the role of interferon beta 1A in treatment. How much it is beneficial if you start this treatment along with the corticosteroids and without corticosteroids. Initially they thought of doing like this, but finally they decided that steroids is a must for optic neuritis. So along with steroids, they want to try interferon beta 1A also. So what they have decided, so they reduced it, along with, if they have given interferon beta 1A, this reduces 2 years likelihood of future neurological events. So now they have started in higher centers, they have started along with the corticosteroids, interferon beta 1A also for optic neuritis treatment. Second one is Champions study. Controlled high risk Evonex, that is interferon beta 1, multiple sclerosis prevention surveillance. So what they have done along with the CHAMPS, Okay, they have given the drugs from the CHAMS, along with they switch it to placebo for about 30 months. Okay, so what they want to do this, but this study is still going on. Okay, next one is early treatment of multiple sclerosis study, that is ETOMS. So interferon beta 1A treatment at an early stage had significant positive clinical and MRI outcomes when compared to only steroids. Okay, so they want to know the outcome of multiple sclerosis after starting interferon beta 1A treatment. So along with methylprednisolone, they have all given Avonex for treatment of optic neuritis. Okay, next one is a benefit study. Okay, so what they have done, they have given interferon beta 1A so early so that it prevents the development of disability, supporting the first manifestations of relapsing and remitting multiple sclerosis. So it reduced the incidence of relapses and remissions in multiple sclerosis when it is methylprednisolone is combined with interferon beta 1A. So next study is precise study. This is also done. So what happens? How will be the course of the optic neuritis? There will be typical loss of visual acuity and color vision within 2 to 5 days. Recovery starts within 2 weeks. If you start treatment as early as possible and takes for about 4 to 6 weeks, 75 to 90% will have good visual defect, visual recovery if the type is a typical optic neuritis. But if it is atypical optic neuritis, less chance of visual recovery. Recurrent attacks is very common, which further leads to primary optic atrophy. Okay, so this is the course of the optic neuritis. So this is all about optic neuritis. Okay, so there are 3 types: clinical types or ophthalmological classification depending upon the site of the involvement of the inflammation. So what is the basic thing that happens? There will be loss of myelin sheath and there will be exposure of the axon, which leads to delay in the transfer of the impulse. Okay, so this is all about optic neuritis. Do you have any doubts? Please don't give your attendance in chat box. I'll take the attendance. No need to give your attendance. So if you have any doubts, you can ask. Everyone is sleeping nicely. So now I'll ask questions. So roll number 11. Roll number 11. Is roll number 11 absent? Roll number 113. Okay. Roll number 6.
Yes, ma'am.
So your name is Alekia.
Yes, ma'am.
What is retrobulbar neuritis?
It is when the optic nerve is involved.
Retrobulbar neuritis. The name itself indicates
The
what is
optic nerve involved behind when it's behind the eyeball.
very good. Very good. So retrobulbar neuritis means behind the eyeball, optic nerve gets involved, and this is more common with adults or children. Roll number 64. Roll number 64.
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
You are just in now only, right? Where were you till now?
Ma'am, I had a issue with my network, ma'am.
Achha. So, what is the most important diagnostic feature, investigative thing we have to do for multiple sclerosis? What you want to see do if you want to diagnose multiple sclerosis? What investigation you want to do? Number 32.
Yes, ma'am.
Bhavana. What is the most important investigation you want to do
Yes, ma'am.
diagnose multiple sclerosis?
MRI, ma'am.
Very good. So what is your number 32, right? Number 74.
Yes, ma'am.
74, Sushma,
Yes, ma'am.
right? What is
Yes, ma'am.
typical multiple sclerosis? What is typical optic neuritis?
Associated with optic sclerosis, ma'am.
Associated with
Optic sclerosis, ma'am.
not optic sclerosis. What sclerosis, ma? Optic neuritis is associated with what?
Multiple sclerosis, ma'am.
You're half asleep.
I thought of saying multiple sclerosis, ma'am.
Okay. So typical optic neuritis you see that in which age group?
15 to 45 years, ma'am.
Very good. So males are more prone or females?
Females are more prone, ma'am.
What are the other features? It's unilateral or bilateral?
Unilateral, ma'am.
Very good. Number 31. Number 31.
Ma'am.
31. Oh, Jyoti Prakash, your number is 31.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is ONTT?
Yes, ma'am.
What is ONTT? Number 112. 112. 141. 141. Number 16. 16.
141 present, ma'am.
Kranti, what were you doing?
A network problem, ma'am.
Okay. What are the drugs we use for treatment of optic neuritis? Kranti,
Yes, ma'am. Wait.
you know or you don't know? Huh? Number 46. 46.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And what are the drugs you use for treatment of optic neuritis?
Ma'am,
Harini, are you
methylprednisolone.
there?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
Methylprednisolone.
And anything else? I told you so many studies.
Corticosteroids, ma'am.
What is the other? Corticosteroids is
Interferons.
methylprednisolone. What else?
Interferon beta, ma'am.
Interferons. You are supposed to. Why you want to give interferons? For what is the reason for interferons? This one is sufficient for treatment. Why you want to include interferons along with methylprednisolone? Anybody in the class? Why you want to add interferon along with methylprednisolone? Anybody can answer. It's okay.
To reduce the recurrence in patients, ma'am.
Very good. Who's that answering? 56. Gyapika, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. To reduce the recurrences or remissions or absence in the multiple sclerosis, right? Okay. So number 68. Number 100.
Yes, ma'am.
నెంబర్ 100.
Yes,
అమ్మాయిలు
ma'am.
తప్ప అందరూ అబ్బాయిలు అందరు నిద్రపోతున్నారా? ఎవ్వరూ పలకట్లేదు అసలు. వాట్ ఈస్ ఉతాఫ్ ఫినామినాన్?
Transient obstruction of the vision on exertion and on exposure to heat, ma'am.
Good. Number 36. Number 36.
Yes, ma'am.
Revant, what is Pulfrix phenomenon?
Excuse me, ma'am.
What is Pulfrix phenomenon? Number 112.
Depth perception.
Number
Yes,
112.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What is Pulfrix phenomenon?
Perception of moving objects. Altered
What will be
moving
lost?
objects.
What will be lost? What is that? What is altered?
Depth perception, ma'am. Depth perception.
Very good. Chalo. Okay, I'm going to end the meeting. Any doubts? Shall we end the meeting?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
ma'am.